Yes, it's Money Monday. Oh, it's asking me to tag some friends. It's always asking me to tag friends all after the fact. FB, you all have to get it together. I need to be able to tag my friends when I set this whole thing up. All right, you all know, here in the group, I am Aurorah Dey, and this is the Secured Entrepreneur Movement, the female edition group. All right, it is Money Monday, and happy Rosh Hashanah to all of my Jewish brothers and sisters. You all know I was already over there on YouTube at 8 a.m. So I said, well, you know what? Let me do this one. Let me do this one. And let me turn this down because, you know, it's me, you, and the fur babies. And I have to do this today because I don't know how many of you caught this, but I'm going to tag you, Sharon. I'm going to tag you, Kim Lee. I'm going to tag a few people after this because last week I put the post up about women in finances, all right? And I clearly stated that in the 70s, and this was, you know, before the 70s, but I was clearly denoting the 70s because I wanted to point out that it hasn't been that long, okay? Hasn't been that long ago that women had to ask for permission to get credit and, you know, to get jobs, things of this nature, okay? And there were things that women could not do without permission from either their father, if they were not married, or their husbands, if they were married. So women at that time, and I know this because, I mean, it's real. If a woman wanted a credit card and she went and filled out an application, because before there was no online, you had to go to the department store and things like this, they would ask the woman, well, you know, are you married? Yes, I'm married. Okay, where's your husband? Okay, you're not married. Where's your father? You know, you could not get credit. So we're coming out of, you know, a generation where, you know, if you like, I lived in a household with both of my parents, my mother and my father, and they had been married for over 50 years now. Okay, and so the whole credit thing was not, you know, anything that was discussed. All right, it was not discussed. So I didn't have a credit education, had no idea what the heaven it was about, didn't know how people used it, you know, and I think that's really the downfall of many young people who went off to college and then, you know, at a certain, you know, in the late 80s, you know, where they were like, okay, you can get a student credit card, and that was like exciting because you didn't realize that, oh no, you had to pay that stuff back. Right? And if you didn't have a job, you know, it was on your parents. So they still gave you the credit knowing that you had no way to pay it back because you didn't have a doggone job. So, I mean, it was really more of a credit trap, you know, and I see that a lot of people are still falling in that, you know, today. But here's where I really want to go this morning because Sharon said something very enlightening down in the comments, and you guys can read that later on today when you come online, because I think some people are on vacation today. However, you know, Miss Aurorah is on 24/7 because this thing is real. I'm about that money. You all know that. So Sharon said she feels as though women are really not on top of their game financially because they're still stuck in a phase where they think they need a man. They think they need a man for a variety of reasons. And because they're so into chasing this man, they are not handling their own affairs. They've got children that they can't support, okay? They've got dreams and aspirations that they cannot support because they're dealing with a man who doesn't have the means to support their dreams, their goals, their aspirations, and they're not dealing with men who can support them, period. And so I said, wow, that's really, you know, and I've met some women who actually have this issue and have gone through a whole lot dealing with another individual that really was not a provider. Now, that brought up a thought for Simone here in the group as it related to Martha Washington. Now, some people are not going to like this, but I got to tell you the story of Martha Washington. Okay, so here's the point. This is for Sharon, to prove Sharon's point here as to what really is happening. Okay, so Martha, originally Martha Custis, and let me I'm not saying that right. I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to mess this up. Please, Lord, let me get this straight. Yes, Martha Custis. Okay. Martha's father was a tobacco, trader. He had well over 300 slaves. He had well over 17,000 acres of land where he was growing and exporting tobacco. Okay, he was a very wealthy man in the 1700s. Martha was his daughter. And at that time, people didn't have a long life expectancy. You might have made it 5 years. If you made it past 5 years, it was like, wow, you're still alive, because you could have died of malaria, a whole lot of things, okay? So she was the survivor. She was her father's heir, all right? So here she is. She's the heir to her father's stuff, but she marries a man, Mr. Custis. That's how she got that name. She marries him. He's more wealthy than her father. He's more wealthy than her father. Okay? And I think, as a matter of fact, he had way more slaves and way more land. Okay? He married Martha. And they were young. I don't even think they were 20 years old when they got married. They had a few children. First 2 children died of malaria. They were under 5 years old. But she was a society woman, okay? So here she is with this inheritance from her father. Then she marries this very rich man who was also a tobacco exporter. She governed his slaves. She governed his house slaves. She ran the society parties, all of this. She had his children. She was extremely wealthy. Everybody knew Martha Custis, all right? Well, her husband, I think he was 26 or 27, somewhere in there. He falls ill. Like I'm saying, at that time, if you fell ill, unfortunately, there was almost like no hope for you. He falls ill and he dies. Now she has all of this property, all of these slaves, all of this money. And at that time, she couldn't keep a doggone thing without a man. Now this is very curious, okay? Very curious. So in comes George Washington, who was a land surveyor. He had a few other things going on, but he was not rich. I don't read anywhere where he had any money, he had any land. I don't read anywhere he had a doggone thing before he married Martha Custis. Well, now, if Martha wants to keep her estate, she has to get a husband. She marries George Washington. George Washington, hey there, girlfriend, happy Money Monday. Valerie, happy Money Monday. I'm telling it, some people are not going to like this. Martha Custis marries George Washington. George Washington moves into Martha Custis's estate. Thank you for the love on Happy Money Monday. Do you know that Martha Custis's house was called the White House? That was the original White House that George Washington moved into. He didn't have jack, blank, blank, blank. Okay, this is where I'm going. George was broke. Martha had all of the money. Martha had thousands of slaves. Like I said, more than 17,000 acres of land. She inherited her husband as well as her father's tobacco exporting business. But she couldn't keep a thing without a man. George came in, moved into her house, and launched his career. Now, how familiar is this sounding? Okay, I got the dogs excited. Sorry, nobody's knocking at the door. Okay, how familiar does this sound? So to Sharon, This speaks to what you were saying last week about why women are basically giving up what they know they can accomplish. They're giving up what they have already established, okay, to be with some other person, okay? At this day and time, it's probably, it's not always a man, okay? So I want to give respect to everyone. So sometimes it's not a man, it's another person, all right? But it's speaking to your point, Sharon, that we as women today have to come away from the old paradigm, okay? Because there's too much going on. We have a sister who's a trillionaire, a woman who is a trillionaire, okay? More money than Oprah. I mean, there's too many people that you're not going to hear about, because this is not, that's wealth. It's not rich and famous, two different things. But there's too many wealthy women in the world, in the United States, okay? So for women to still be in the paradigm that has taught us that you really cannot do anything without a man. You really cannot have a substantial life or lifestyle without a man, okay? And I was saying this morning when I was on YouTube, this is what secured entrepreneurship is all about, especially for women, because the secured entrepreneur wants financial security and anonymity, all right? Luxury lifestyles, access to unlimited cash and credit, lasting legacies and relationships with like-minded individuals. Well, it's very difficult for women to really come into agreement and form businesses and really do your thing with other women who are stuck in that paradigm, because you can't trust to get involved with a woman who's not going to flake on you because now she got a man. Now there's something else. So now the business that you're trying to get into and be profitable with is going to fall to the wayside. So my question for the secured entrepreneur woman today: how much light are you giving to the world? How are you taking control over your financial stability? bit.ly/the profile. You know why? Because we're not in a time where we have to ask a man for permission to get credit, to have cash, to get a job. And remember, women only started going to work when the war was on. We didn't have any men to work in those factories, to do all that stuff. And then they said, okay, well, we want to sell some cigarettes. We got the woman in there working. Let's put a cigarette in her mouth and put it on a billboard. Then every woman thought it was cool. We got independence. We're going to smoke a cigarette. You see how that has gone? Okay? So we're in a time when we have access to healthier lifestyles, okay? We can make choices for ourselves. So everyone, when y'all wake up, when things start happening and you're moving and shaking today, comment below. How are you taking control over your own financial stability, your own legacy creation? Because even if you are married, like my mother has been married to her husband for 54 years, she still has responsibility. She has children. She has herself first and foremost. So she still has a personal responsibility to control her own financial situation. Hey, Simone. Okay? So as you're going into this week from Money Monday on, be in control of how you are creating your resources. Be mindful as to the legacy that you're creating, because you come first. All right? So you all know out in Facebook land that I am Aurorah Dey. And you can visit me at AurorahDayConsulting.com. You want some millionaire secret strategies? You want to make it to the level of the young lady who I told you about in this country who is a trillionaire? MillionaireSecretStrategies.club. All right? And until tomorrow, ta-ta. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Simone. Ta-ta.